Now, if you're training for hand balancing, bodyweight strength, calisthenics, yoga, having the ability to move around in this crow frog arm balance position is really useful and carries over to lots of skills. Whether that's yoga flows coming from the back, coming forwards, transferring weight, and transitioning between positions very easily, or whether it's training more strength skills like handstand push-ups, having the ability to move around in that crow frog position and transfer weight from the front to the back, from the legs to the arms in the right way to help you with the movement is very important. So today I'm going to go through the most useful positions in the crow, and I'm going to do it like a follow along. So I'm going to start with the easier variations and then progressively make them harder and harder. So if you're following along, you might get to a point where you get stuck, and that just means that you can then keep coming back to this one and then try on the next stage when you feel like you've got the flexibility or the strength to take you there. Now, most people will call this the crow one when you have the knees on the bent arms. You take the head and shoulders down and then you lift the toes up. The frog position is the same, but with the knees more out to the side, and now the elbows on the inner thigh in that position, so it's more of a flatter position. But there is a grey area between the two. So have a little play with both of those, but try transferring the weight now from the back. So I've got lots of weight in my feet and my legs. I'm going to slowly take the head and shoulders down, the hips raise up, and now the toes become lighter. If I can, I lift both feet up in the air, and I can hold that position for time. I can play around with tipping the position to try and find a position that feels nice and comfortable and much easier to hold. And then I can just exit back out again. Next, let's play with that weight shift seesaw a little bit more. So I'm going to go back into that position. Now, all my weight is in my feet. I haven't got much weight in my elbows. I'm going to slowly transfer the weight forwards into my hands and shoulders, upper back. And then I slowly take the head down towards the floor. So if I can get the head to kiss the floor. And now, because I've still got a little bit of weight backwards, see my hips aren't too high, I can tip the hip backwards, push through the hands, lift the head back up again, catch the crow by taking the head and shoulders forwards, and then slowly come back to toes on the floor again. So I'm purposely changing the seesaw and loading different parts, whether it's the hands and the shoulders and the upper back, or it's back towards the legs, to adjust the position to make it sit in the middle of the balance, but also go in the direction I want it to. Now we can take that from another extreme. So if I go down into like a down dog position, so I'm pushing back, and I've still got all the weight into my legs, there's hardly any weight in my hands. I'm now going to transfer forwards. The weight's going to slowly go more into the hands. I'm going to bend the elbows, take the elbows towards the knees towards the elbows until they touch. Then I can keep coming forwards. Now look, all the weight's in the hands and shoulders, upper back, and the toes have come off the floor. I can go backwards, push back towards the feet, back towards that down dog position again. Now we can take that up a notch, do exactly the same thing, but instead of taking both legs forwards, I'm only going to take one leg forwards. I'm going to bend the knee, see if I can find the elbow. Now I can either go directly on top, or I can go to the side like the frog, and then I'm going to take head and shoulders down towards the floor. This back toe can become light, and then I can lift up from there, come back, push back into that down dog position, swap legs to the other side. So I'm shifting back and forth, I'm shifting the height of the shoulders, the hips and the legs to find that sweet spot, that balance point. Now we can play with how much push that I'm doing with my arms and how much weight I've got in my legs. So if I just go into the normal crow position now and I put my legs onto my arms with lots of weight in the legs, it makes my legs feel very heavy and my arms feel squashed by my legs. Now if I do the opposite and I push with my upper body, decrease the weight in the legs, then it looks the same, but I've got a lot less weight in my legs. Look, I can lift one, I can lift two, because I've got all the weight, all the push in my shoulders, in my arms, and therefore my legs and my hips feel lighter. And that's where if I'm doing a skill like crow to handstand, so if I'm going up, transferring the weight into the arms and shoulders, decreasing the weight out of the legs, that's easier. And when I come down, it also makes the catch easier, because my legs are lighter when I land. So learning that weight transfer is really, really important for that. And it can be a difference between achieving the skill or not achieving the skill. Then we can play with shifting between bent arms and straight arms. So again, in either of those positions, in the frog position or the crow position, I can go into a bent arm normal position like this. I could have tiptoes on the floor if I need to. And then I'm just gonna try straightening the arms a little bit and coming back again. If that feels okay, I can do exactly the same thing, but now straighten all the way into that straight arm position, come back into the bent position and come back out. And notice how I tip as well. The hips and the shoulders change height, but the connection between the shoulder and the hip stays the same. So when the shoulder comes down, the hip comes up. When the hip comes down, the shoulder comes up. And then you can just start to play with it into combinations. So I can start in that down dog position. I could come forwards into a two-legged frog crow position, I could shift onto one leg. I could shift onto no legs. I could push up to handstand. I could come back down to the opposite side, come to 2 legs, straighten the arms to the crane, come back to the bent arm crow position, and then slowly back down again. I could turn the hat around, which allows me to first go into a headstand position. So make a triangle between the hands and the head. Step 1 knee on, step 2 on, and now I can drop the feet and the hips, lift the head and the shoulders, and catch in this position. And then I can try and come back, lightly touch. I can either go back to my feet or back to the headstand position and lift back off again. So lots of options depending on the skills that you're working towards, or if you're just training these as arm balances by themselves. Let me know down in the comments if you have any questions on this one. If you're interested for programs or more follow-along videos for handstand push-ups, for crow to handstand, for handstands in general, check out my app, link in the description, and I'll speak to you next time. Thanks guys.